Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, where you are, across this great wide world of ours. I'm going to continue this issue of your Bureau of Indian Affairs, and I've been a big advocate of this defunding the Bureau of Indian Affairs. On from this point forward, I'm going to call it the BIA. And though I'm trying to get traction on this, I honestly believe and wholeheartedly, and then with my investigation and my research into this, that I really honestly believe that the administrative end of the BIA is too top heavy, and I really honestly believe with the research I'm doing that I know that a lot of these costs or these issues really need to go on to the tribal level. And I've been an advocate of this issue about closing the BIA or the headquarters in Washington and moving. We've got 12 regional offices. And I've been an advocate of creating like 4 districts and a headquarters west of the Mississippi. Now, I know a big issue has become, or a couple people have talked to me about this before, that, and excuse me, but my throat gets dry, that the issue that becomes is a lot of the issues with the BIA is when you call the BIA, it's really isolated because the majority of the tribes are west of the Mississippi. Because of the Indian Removal Act of the 1830s and the fact of colonialism in the 17th, 18th, 19th century, a lot of the what was under, especially with the Ulysses S. Grant, the Indian issue. This was also an issue that I'm reading some issues from Abraham Lincoln. But if you look at the premise, even the premise of the Declaration of Independence, which is predominantly written by Thomas Jefferson, he highlights, and we're going back to 1776, he highlights, if you read it, that he calls the Native American population noble savages. And this mindset by the colonial elites at the time, it was an issue of moving the Native American population away from European settlements and pushing them more westward. And not to go real deeply into Jefferson, but Jefferson is one of the things that created, Louisiana Purchase, which then we have Lewis and Clark, even though they used a guide, an Indian guide, as part of this. And I have not done a lot of research on that yet, but my speculation is on this, that she was part of Scatchawea, even though we've got a gold coin with her, embroidered on it. It was more of a ceremonial type of thing that she was a guide on that. And even she, had a child. It was more of a issue of showing that the white elites at the time, and we're talking about Lewis and Clark, and the exploration of the Louisiana Purchase, and which took some time, actually scouting out the area. There isn't much talked about. I mean, there's a little bit talked about that. And I haven't done an in-depth reading on that because right now I'm quite busy doing other things. But the point on that, there's this distinction. It's almost like when we talk about people, there's a distinction there of this and that. And, and we always have this distinction about the African American culture. And that African American culture, went through slavery, they went through persecution, especially in the South, and it almost till the 1960s with Brown versus Education that we had to make some changes into segregation because we had the Jim Crow laws in the South. And part of that issue comes out of the issue with when River B. Hayes becomes president. There was some concessions made that created these Jim Crow laws in the South. And like I said, for a while there, the cause was the Republicans. Though right now, and it's what I consider myself a legal scholar, I see that shift again occurring towards the Republican Party because African American community, and I also believe this happens with the Native American population as well. There's this thing with that disenfranchisement. I don't think that the ideal, though, that the Democrats have the answer or the Republicans have the answer is not the solution. I think the solution is we have to get this right, and part of getting this right with people, and we make this classification of African Americans, Native Americans. People call Mexicans, and I hate that word Mexicans anyway. I like to use the word, and they say Hispanics. I don't like the word Hispanics. I like to use the word Latinos because I think that's a better term to use than compared to the other ones. So the issue becomes necessarily what works for the culture, because really the United States was founded upon a multicultural issue, but it was the white elitists or the property owners. And let's face it, the property owners around the time of the Revolutionary were the ones who were able to vote. It was after quite a while that we get the regular people under Andrew Jackson. The people were able to vote, but then Andrew Jackson did so many atrocities against the Native American culture, as well as the black culture as well. And then he did as far as I'm concerned, it's still debatable why people did not, but he did an impeachable offense under Marshall's court when he was told not to remove Cherokees, the Cherokee Nation, and all the 5 civilized tribes off the lands in the southeast, at the time, southeast parts of what is like Tennessee, northern part of Georgia, north part of Mississippi, and forced them across into what is known as the Trail of Tears, and that he defied a Supreme Court order, which, as far as I'm concerned, is an impeachable offense. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of people at the time didn't feel that his reaction to not defying the Supreme Court was justified. And there again, there's some similarities to what that's going on right now in the political world that had happened back then. And yet, when we think about that, we think about, or at least I think about, is the issue of forced reservations. And this was the first part of it. And part of this was under John C. Calhoun in the 1820s. And we know when you look at the history of John C. Calhoun, he's a big nullifier. In other words, he was a big component of state rights, and the actual removal of Native Americans off lands that would create plantations and what I would call the yeoman class. And once this started, it escalated, and then we get the Dawes Act. We get another issue of under Grant, the Native American question, the destruction of the bison, the food source, and then we get other issues as well. The people, and I call them people, they're not noble savages, that are forced under reservations, and people are hungry, they're starving, they get raided on they're not under They're not under what now we call the Interior Department, the BIA. We're under the War Department. In other words, we're under the auspices of the War Department, of the cavalry, etc., and not necessarily their own entity. And then I am a big advocate of the big issue is that there should be a Native American nation. In other words, a nation where, and I'm a big component of this, though Oklahoma probably will not like this, that eastern parts of Oklahoma, most of the tribes exist there, is that that part of eastern Oklahoma should be converted into a tribal nation, a separate state in itself, keep parts of western Oklahoma, and then to offset part of that, because we still would have Oklahoma's 50 states, bring Puerto Rico in because it is a commonwealth, and this is another issue, and I'm not an expertise on Puerto Rico, but bring that in as a state, and then that way you get an equal rest. Instead of having 50 states, you would then have 52 states. So anyway, these are some food for thoughts. I've talked about that before. We have North Dakota, South Dakota, Virginia, West Virginia, so North Carolina, South Carolina. So, but the issue becomes here is that the premise that I wanted to talk about is that the system is obsolete. We need to move forward and come up with a solution that helps tribal people and tribal leaders more than create more bureaucracy. And please like and subscribe below. Feel free to reach out to me at bthomasmillerpsych, bthomasmillerpsych at gmail.com. Anyway, have a great day, and hopefully I'll make a video midweek. Talk to you soon. Bye.